What's up, guys? CJ here, and welcome back to another all-new episode of the Superfriends podcast. This is episode 99, and I'm joined, as always, by Luke.
Hey, guys, what's up?
And Tim.
How's it going, everyone?
Speaking of ideas that might entice Matthew Vaughn to direct Man of Steel 2, thank God that people keep asking him if he's interested or if he's attached to that. That kind of brings us to our next topic, which is the fact that basically this week, if you've been paying attention, if you're a DC fan, you've been paying attention to the internet, you probably have seen the fact that Matthew Vaughn, yes, he is interested in doing Man of Steel 2, and he has confirmed that there have been talks between him and DC about what exactly that would entail, and, you know, if he's, you know, the man they want for the job, yada, 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 and thank God people keep asking, you know, him about it, because it hasn't been the same answer every time. He's actually finally elaborating a little bit on what his version of Superman would actually look like. But, I mean, before we get into that, and I'll kind of do a before and after thing, I'm going to read you his entire quote. But before we do that, I kind of want to get your feelings on, you know, do you think Matthew Vaughn is the best person for this job, Luke?
Yes.
Yes. Is there any, just yes?
I mean, just the way his movies are shot and what he adds, I think, to characters and all that with what he does, I think that he is the one. I don't think he's the one single guy, but he is the one guy that I want to do Man of Steel 2, just based on past experience with his movies, the heart that he puts into stuff. I really think that a Man of Steel 2 would benefit from having him direct.
I agree. Tim, what do you think? Is Matthew Vaughn your Man of Steel pick?
I think he's a good pick to do it. I mean, especially after having just seen Kingsman: The Golden Circle. He's definitely good at doing action. He's good at keeping things light, but still having character shine through. Maybe not the best at fleshing out every character in a story, but definitely has a lot of charm behind his characters, even if there isn't that much to them.
Right.
That's true. His movies are always, I guess, fun, and that might be a little bit of a trigger word for some people, but they do generally. They do generally, they're a good time. I've not watched a Matthew Vaughn movie that I did not really enjoy watching.
I think just kind of speaking to that, I'm not the biggest fan of First Class, but I will say that I think First Class does emotional stuff with its characters very well.
Oh, yeah.
And I think with Superman, because it's just the one guy, I mean, you have like a supporting cast and everything, but you're following the one guy. I mean, I think that kind of would play a little bit more to his benefit if he's not really the best at kind of dividing up between multiple characters.
But yeah.
I agree. I think First Class, you had to balance an ensemble there, and there were some characters that you knew weren't really going to get explored too much, like, say, Banshee. Havoc, to an extent, did not really get explored in that movie. But, I mean, the central characters, he kind of made it about basically this central three-person team, and that's Charles, Magneto, and Mystique. And before we get into the XMen podcast stuff, I feel like that was really the highlight of the movie, was the emotional depth of it. One, again, that it was fun. Two, the period piece aspect of it. He's just so talented. I think he would definitely be my choice for a Man of Steel movie. And so both of you guys are on board. We've got that. I'm going to read you his quote, and we'll see what you think. Now that I know it's not really going to change your mind, probably, it might actually make you a little more excited. So he says, Collider actually followed up, basically asked him, so what would you do with this property if DC does give it to you? He says, weirdly, if I did do Superman, and I made the mistake of telling someone yesterday I've spoken about, and then wallop, I think my main take would be, it's really boring, but make a Superman film. I just don't feel a proper Superman. I think Donner did it to perfection for that time. Just doing I want to do a modern version of the Donner version. Go back to the source material. For me, Superman is color, feel-good, heroic. He's a beacon of light and darkness, and that's what I think Superman should be. So that, obviously, to me, sounds really, really good. I'm a big fan of the Donner movies, the 1.5 Donner movies, I guess. What do you guys think about that? Do you think a modern Donner could work in this day and age, or is it more of like an extrapolation of the things that Donner did?
I think that having him as a modern Donner character, and then maybe contrasting that a little bit with maybe a little bit more of a realistic setting. Because, like, I think the problem that I think a lot of people might have had with Superman in this universe is that, for the most part, he's kind of just a blank slate, and like, the world is just, like, overly depressing, I think, in a lot of ways, and Superman himself is depressing in that same light. And I don't know if this is what he means, but I think the idea of, like, if you're going to keep the same world, but then have it contrast with a guy that genuinely just wants to do the right thing, then I would probably be on board with that. As it stands for, like, a modern Donner version, I don't know how it would work in today's day and age. We would have to see, I guess. I'm not sure how much it would work, but I mean, with the Marvel movies and everything, I think there's a market to do something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think going off of that, one of the issues with the modern Superman is that instead of grounding the world around him, they tried to ground the character also, which doesn't really work super well for Superman just because of the type of character he is. He's supposed to be an idealist type of character, which may not make him relatable to some, but it's how he works best, honestly. So if they were able to, like, take a Donner-esque Superman approach and, like, do, like, the world around them being more modernized, I think it could work out pretty well with that, with the contrast.
And I kind of like how I think you're on the right track, because, I mean, just look at how he describes it. It's like a beacon of light in the darkness. He's supposed to be this icon, more or less, he's a symbol as much as he is, an actual man and a hero going out and doing things. And that, I mean, I think to me that is underscored, I mean, in the main conflict between Superman and Lex Luthor, is that he's this icon, this ideal image, basically, and it kind of is in Lex Luthor's eyes. It's the end of man's advancement, of humanity's advancement, and stuff like that. And just but for better or worse, that's what Superman is. So hopefully Matthew Vaughn gets this movie. Is he? I was gonna say, is he still your pick? But just going off your answers, I feel like the answer is a definite yes. Do you think DC will give it to him? I know this is basically a shot in the dark. Who are we to?
Well, I mean,
predict?
I think the biggest question is, do they want to do Man of Steel 2? Because this is the only thing I've been hearing about it in recent memory, is that Matthew Vaughn is interested in doing a Man of Steel 2.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on what the reception to Justice League is, and Superman in particular.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It's going to be big. The thing with DC right now is it's kind of a nebulous. We've got a bunch of ideas. We'll see what happens.
Well, I think
who knows?
I think it's mostly just like they're waiting to see in terms of some of the bigger aspirations that they have. Like, for right now, they have, like, Shazam and Aquaman. There's Wonder Woman 2, Suicide Squad. All of these things are, like, properties that they've already done, or at least are coming soon. They've made decent money. I think for maybe some of the other stuff, like Superman, I think has been the one biggest point of contention for a lot of people in this universe. So I think, like you said, if they do Justice League first and the reception to him in there is pretty good, they might say, okay, now we're a little bit more confident that Man of Steel 2 will do better.
Yeah, it's kind of the downside that DC has to having to play catch up for as long as they've had to. Basically, they weren't really able to set the stage for what they wanted to do, so they have to be more reactionary.
Yeah.
So that they can keep up and eventually surpass their main competition.
Yeah, I mean, if they do have a set game plan, they're hiding it very well, because I'm not exactly sure what the end game is for. I don't know where they're heading right now besides Justice League, but I mean, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
But that, I guess, is going to do it for us here. And I guess that's going to bring us to the end of Super Friends episode 99. Next week, I was going to say tomorrow, but next week is the big 100. I'm not sure what we're going to do to celebrate it yet. But if you have a question, we might just do a viewer question special. Hey, and that might work out pretty well, because there very well might be no news. But so if you have a question that you want read and answered on our viewer question special, it doesn't have to be about DC Comics. It can be about anything. Just hashtag AskSuperFriends in the description down below, on Twitter, on SoundCloud, wherever you want to leave it. We'll answer it. We'll talk about it. Tim, any last thoughts?
Nope, I'm good. Just Later, everyone. See you at the 100th episode.
Sounds good. And I guess that'll do it for us here. For Luke and Tim, I'm CJ, and we'll see you next week.
Later.